Hello everyone, this is Ishan and today we are going to discuss about the most challenging questions that you will encounter in your IELTS listening test. So stay tuned. Just a few days ago, I have created a video about preparing for IELTS exam in a short duration of time. I'm going to link that video in the description, so check it out. Now without wasting much time, let's dive straight into it. Even before starting to practice the IELTS listening, you should know how much bands you require and what are the marks that will get you those bands. For any given section of the IELTS listening test, while the recording is playing, the only important tip is to focus on the current question and the next question. We will be discussing about certain question types that I have found challenging during my IELTS test. These question types require your full attention because if you miss a clue, then there are chances that you will ruin the whole section. We will be going through an actual recording where I will give you some useful tips as we proceed further. The first question type that I find challenging are those map related questions. In this question type, the narrator introduces the audience to a new place. It could be a ground, a building, or a complex. The narrator walks through and explains where each section belongs. There are two subtypes of these type of questions. The first type will give you a list of things that you have to mark on the map, and the second subtype will give you blank spaces within the map where you will have to fill the blanks yourself after identifying what section it is. You will get some time to review the questions even before the recording begins. A general tip is to avoid making any assumptions of the answers, as it's not really worth it. If you miss a question, do not wait too long, as you will miss other following questions. If the starting point is not mentioned on the map explicitly, then when the recording begins, the first thing to do is to calmly listen out for the starting point from the narrator. Then try to follow along the path and figure out the places that the narrator mentions, and also try to grasp all the clues that you will get. For each item mentioned in the recording, try to find it in the map and review its surroundings. If it's not in the map, then see if you have it in the options. And if you have the blanks, then you will have to identify the answer and fill it up yourself. The map we have is a museum plan indicating letter A to I, and we have to fill in those letters to our options on the left. Now let's begin the recording together.
Listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Now, before I finish today, I wanted to help you find your way around the museum. When you start next Monday, the first thing you'll need to do is sign in. Come through the main entrance and you'll see the main staircase straight ahead. To the right of this is the statue of the horse, and just behind that is a door. Go through that, and that's the sign-in office.
So the C option on our map, which is beside the statue, is the sign-in office. So this is option C.
Now, on the first day, you'll be working in Gallery 1. You'll find this as follows. In the central courtyard area, close to the entrance, there's a large chest where visitors put donations for the museum. The door just behind that leads to Gallery 1.
So letter I on our map is Gallery 1. So number 17 is option I.
The workshop you'll be taking part in starts at 11, but if you want to go in earlier, you can get the key and let yourself in. The key box is quite hard to find. Walk behind reception, and it's between the large gallery and the bookshop.
So option H on our map is the key box. So number 18 is H.
I haven't mentioned breaks, lunch, etc. Unfortunately, our cafe's closed at the moment, so your best bet is to bring a packed lunch. We tend to have our sandwiches in the kitchen area. Go round the reception desk and you'll see a small circular cabinet. The door to the kitchen area is just behind that.
So option D is our kitchen cabinet, as it's behind the circular area, which is option E. So D is the kitchen area. Number 19, kitchen area, will be D.
Now, every day, we put up notices about what's happening in the museum. Your supervisor will brief you, but if you want to check up on details, look on our staff notice board. This is in the corner of the play area, at the back, on the wall of Gallery 3. If you have any questions...
So on the back, which means on the corner of Gallery 3, so G, option G, is the staff notice board, which is question number 20. And that's the end of our recording. After the recording completes, in the review time, try to guess any missed answers. Also check the spellings if you have filled up the answers yourself in the blanks. The second question type that I find challenging are those multiple choice questions, which will have multiple people talking on the topic. I find this challenging as there are multiple options to go through, and you also have to differentiate between voices of different people. During the preview time, before the recording begins, go through all the questions and try to identify the subject and predicate of each question. If you are taking the paper-based test, then you have the bonus of being able to underline the keywords of each question, which can highlight those while the recording plays in the background. When the recording begins, try to focus on the current question, its options, and the next question. Wait to hear for the current question's subject, and then try to guess the answers from the recording. If you find that the next question is being mentioned in the recording, then understand that you have missed the current question and do not spend any further time on it. Immediately move on the next question's options. Now let's quickly review all our MCQ questions. Question number 24 is talking about the diagram of Braille positions. Question number 25 is about combined dots as the subject. 26 is about Braille's system becoming official. And 27 is about something unusual about Braille. Now we will be starting the recording.
Anyway, Braille took this system as a starting point, but instead of using the 12 dots, which night writing used, he cut the number of dots in half and developed a 6-dot system.
Can you give us a little more information about how it works?
Well, it's a system
So only 6 dots are being used, so it could be either B or C.
of touch reading, which uses an arrangement of raised dots called a cell. Braille numbered the dot positions 1, 2, 3 downward on the left and 4, 5, 6 downward on the right. The letters of the alphabet are then formed by using...
So there are only 2 columns with 3 rows. So option B is our answer.
different combinations of these dots.
Yes?
So, is the writing system based on the alphabet with each word being individually spelt out?
Well, it's not quite that simple, I'm afraid. For instance, the first 10 letters of the alphabet are formed using dots 1, 2, 4 and 5. But Braille also has its own short forms for common words. For example, B for the word but and H for have. There are many other contractions like this.
So you spell out most words letter by letter, but you use short forms for common words?
Yes.
So the combined dots can represent both the letters and some common words.
Though I think that makes it sound a little easier than it actually is.
And was it immediately accepted? I mean, did it catch on straight away?
Well, yes and no. It was immediately accepted and used by Braille's fellow students at the school, but the system was not officially adopted until 1854, 2 years after Braille's death. So official acceptance was slow in coming.
So it was accepted after 2 years of Brill's death. So it was option C in this question.
I suppose it works for all languages which use the Roman alphabet.
Yes, it does, with adaptations, of course.
Can it be written by hand, or do you need a machine to produce Braille?
Well, you can write it by hand onto paper with a device called a slate and stylus. But the trick is that you have to write backwards, from right to left, so that when you turn your sheet over, the dots face upwards and can be read like English from left to right.
Oh, I see.
But these days, you'd probably use a Braille writing machine, which is a lot easier.
And tell us, Linda, is Braille used in other ways, other than for reading?
So, for 27, it says that the Braille is usually written in reverse. So option C is our answer. In the review time, you have to guess the missed answers and then use all the remaining time for reviewing the next questions. The third question type that I really find challenging are those fill in the blanks questions in section 4. This section really rushes through the recording and there are no breaks given. In my experience, it is really tough to complete the ending 3 to 4 questions. In this question type, you will never have enough time to go through all the questions. So try to go through as many as you can before the recording begins. And also try to see the articles that are being used before the blanks, so that way you are aware of where to use the singular form of the answer. As soon as the recording begins, try to wait for each question's subject in the recording. Sometimes there is extra information about the subject before you hear the answer. So have patience. Write the answer as soon as you hear it. If you feel that multiple words fit in for the answer, then write all and then review it in the end. Now let's begin the recording.
Part 4.
You are going to hear some facts and figures about Australia.
First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40.
Now let's review questions 31 to 40, or as many as we can. The first question, 31, is talking about capitalist economy. It has something which is prosperous. 32 is about some products that the Australia exports. 33 talks about the balance in the economic problems. 34 is about the same. 35 is about something that relates to the chief industries in Australia. 36 is about agricultural products in Australia.
Now, listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Now, I should tell you that the country of Australia is made up of 6 states and 2 territories. These are the Australian Capital Territory, New South Wales, the Northern Territory, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, and Western Australia. The national capital is Canberra. Right, let's turn to the Australian economy. Australia has a prosperous Western-style capitalist economy.
31 is Western-style capitalist economy. So 31 will be Western.
Australia is a major exporter of agricultural products, minerals,
32 is agricultural.
metals, and fossil fuels. Commodity prices have a big impact on the economy. Australia suffered from the low growth and high unemployment typical of the OECD countries in the early 1990s, but the economy has expanded at reasonably steady rates in recent years. In addition to high unemployment, short-term economic problems include how to balance output and inflation and how to stimulate exports.
So 33 is inflation and 34 is exports. So output, inflation, and stimulate exports.
The economy is made up like this: agriculture, 3.1%, industry, 27.7%, services, 69.2%. The labor force has a similar pattern. The total labor force is 8.2 million. 34% work in finance and services, 23% work in public and community services, 20% work in the wholesale and retail trade, 17% work in manufacturing and industry, and 6% work in agriculture. What are the chief industries of Australia? They are mining, industrial, and transport equipment, food processing,
35 is transport.
chemicals, and steel. What are Australia's main agricultural products? They are wheat, barley, sugarcane,
36 is barley.
fruit, cattle, sheep, and poultry.
37 is poultry.
And who do we sell our products to? At present, our chief export market is Japan,
38 is Japan.
which takes 24% of our exports. After that, South Korea takes 8%, and New Zealand and the U.S. each take 7%. In years to come, however, we expect China to become a significant trade partner. China already supplies 5% of Australia's imports. This is the same amount as New Zealand. Meanwhile, we take 1/5, in fact 22% of our imports from the U.S., 17% from Japan, and 6% from the UK.
The most imports are from US. So answer 39 is US.
So what sort of things does Australia import? Well, we import a lot of machinery and transport equipment, especially computers and office machines, also telecommunications equipment, and in addition we have to import oil and petroleum products. So let's move to the subject of communications in Australia. We have an estimated 8.7 million telephones and 9.2 million televisions. There are some 134 television broadcast stations and 325 radio stations. The related subject of transport is naturally very important in such a big country as Australia. Let's look at highways first. There are two kinds of highways.
So, as they said, such a big country like Australia. So answer 40 is a big country. After the recording completes, review all the final answers, check spellings, and make sure that you have used the correct plural or singular form of the answer. In computer-based test, you will be only given 2 minutes for reviewing all the answers. So please utilize this time and review all the answers, spelling mistakes, or any other issues that you have made with the answers. For paper-based test, you are given 10 minutes for transferring all the answers. So make sure you transfer all the answers, correct the spelling mistakes, and if there are multiple options, choose only one answer. I believe that I was able to discuss the challenging questions in the listening test and walk you through while giving you some helpful tips. If you found this video useful, please share a like. Thanks for your time and all the best for your IELTS exam.